this is what the actual Illuminati have been trying to do. They've been trying to clone Jesus Christ.
So much more than fun and games at the Cartoon Cabal. Beyond what's just in the name at the Cartoon Cabal. See just at what cost comes fame at the Cartoon Cabal. So much more than fun and games at the Cartoon Cabal.
Hello, welcome to the Cartoon Cabal, where we are currently making our way through all of the episodes of Neon Genesis Evangelion. This is Matt here. It's Paranoid American over there. How's it going?
Paranoid American is on this show?
On this show? How does that work? I don't know.
The year is 2015, but it's actually 2025. But this is being told from 1995, roughly. Right. Quantum physics, man. That's how it all works out, you know? I like that. I kind of enjoy seeing the future as a past thing. I wonder if they planned that on purpose, or if they were just trying to be futuristic, or if they thought, hey, if we put this in the immediate future, then when this year comes up, it'll be relevant again. And then when you watch it in the future, it'll actually have a completely different vibe to it. I wonder if any of that's intentional.
Well, I don't know about intentional, but I would say, at least for Americans, the gold standard of that would be Back to the Future 2, where we're now 10 years past the future of Back to the Future 2. And has that made that movie better? I'm going to say yes.
Well, I think that some movies just hold up over time based on merit regardless. I think that's just kind of how it works.
Bigger question, do you prefer Back to the Future 2 over Back to the Future 1?
What if I said Back to the Future 3?
Then I think you're really into cowboys.
Okay, yeah, actually, that's true. That's probably the only reason. I don't know. I think personally, as a kid, I think I like Back to the Future 2 better. I think it was one that I remembered more in the theater.
Yeah, that's one where I'd probably say I understand 1 is a better movie, but 2 I like better. Because it's like, you know, if you throw weird crap at the wall, you start to like it. But no, we're talking Eva, where we get one of the things I keep bringing up is that the future, past, whatever it is in here, I'm like, it pretty much looks like the city I go to work in, you know, like when they show city scenes, it does look like now. And it looks like Japan, you know, doesn't change that much. You look at Tokyo in the 60s and the styles are slightly different. There's a few, you know, the hairstyles are slightly different. A few more guys are wearing suits because that's finally started to atrophy a bit in Japan. But 1995, 2015, 2025 in Japan kind of looks the same.
Do you think that there is a real chance in our timeline, or at least in our reality, maybe after we're both dead, but do you think some point in the future there's a chance that a giant mechanical creature will destroy parts of Japan just because they've been paying it this much attention? Like they're going to create an egregore, and the egregore is going to manifest in the future.
It's written in the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Is it that there's going to be, I guess, out of any show that could ever convince you that might be true, it would be this particular show.
I mean, I could see that also coming out of somewhere like we just don't hear from much, like Turkmenistan suddenly has a mech, you know, going through its constructed city. Oh, I did see Japan today, a headline. Let's read this because this feels very Eva or very Cabalish or whatever. That's in the name of our show. Toyota launches test city in central Japan featuring self-driving robots. So, Woven City. Hell, that really fits in here because we're weaving a tale here, aren't we? So, Japan, Toyota has just opened up the Woven City.
So this is the next iteration of Epcot, because that was what the original Disney Epcot was supposed to be.
Yeah, it kind of is.
Like the first future city.
Exactly. Experimental city in central Japan where self-driving vehicles, delivery robots, personal transporters operate to provide services to residents. 47,000 square meters of land at the foot of Mount Fuji. Only 300 people are there at the moment. But and you know what? I'm gonna stake this out. It's probably not gonna go much over 300, I think. It's built for more, but I feel like, I don't know. Epcot became a theme park, right?
Well, Epcot was, the theme park was based on the beginnings of what Epcot was going to be, but Epcot, the way that Disney was thinking about it, never really happened. Not even close.
No,
they
I'm
broke
sure
ground.
There was a boardroom meeting in, January 1967, was it? Where they were like, okay, are we hitting the brakes on this? Yes, we're hitting the brakes on this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Like, I do think if Disney lives in another 10 years,
bubble, this little like weird.
Yeah, there would have been, like more, like something in Florida would have resembled that city. I think if Disney had made it to age 80, would it have failed? Would it have failed worse than, Celebration Florida? I don't know, which I don't think, I think that's out of Disney's jurisdiction now. Now it's just a weird city, town, whatever.
Celebration, yeah, it's weird. I think that the people that would have originally wanted to move there, now that reason doesn't exist because you kind of wanted to feel like you were living on Disney property. They had a little movie theater there. It really was a little self-manufactured town. You never had to leave that little bubble. And what was even crazier is that once you left, you're just on the main highway that brings you directly to Disney and all these other places. But it was like the village. It was like you willingly went into the village, the Shyamalan village.
Yeah. Oh, here's the Tokyo chairman, Akio Toyoda. He's got the name Toyota. That's actually different. He has a slightly different name than the company. That's weird. I want to realize a safe and secure mobile society by linking social infrastructure and mobility. That sounds dystopian as hell. Some skeptics have raised concerns over the vast amounts of personal data collected through sensors and other devices. So that's something to keep an eye on. The Woven City is now open.
I think that in this series, the people in the buildings are the ones that had to evacuate and they're watching their homes getting crushed by robots. They probably don't care as much about the personal security thing at those exact moments. They're probably willing to trade it all in to not have their home destroyed by a giant angel.
It does seem like even the residents of Tokyo 3 are actually like kind of slightly disconnected from the breakaway society. Go 20 meters underground. Now you're in the underground city. But if you are in that apartment building, you're just living Joe Schmo's life, Japanese style, post-apocalypse.
I hope we see an episode where we just follow a normal person through a normal day. And I guess so this episode in particular is kind of a weird one. These usually aren't my favorite types of episodes where it's sort of a recap of highlights of all the different previous ones.
Clip show.
And it feels like, a little bit of a clip show, but it also feels like there's some retconning happening. And the main reason I'm saying that is because you mentioned on a previous episode that they kind of reorganized the sequence of some of these episodes as the ultimate ending was sort of changing as they're working through these. And this one just felt like if you wanted to take corrective course, then you would plant all these little backstories. Like, for example, the bully that is picking on Shinji, we find out that he's bullying Shinji because his sister got hurt in sort of like collateral damage during one of Shinji's fights with the fallen angel, like the third fallen angel. And there's like a few different.
We were asking that question 10 episodes ago, so it makes sense.
Well, and of course, there's going to be plenty more fallout, so you get a little bit of that. And this kind of reminds me of The Boys. Like The Boys does this really well, where they showed all of this fallout from superheroes. So when Superman like lifts a car off a lady or like blocks a car from hitting a lady in the middle of the street, and you don't see where that car winds up, like it actually landed on somebody else. Like someone died, even though the one that's getting the focus sort of got saved. So there's a little bit of that backstory of people getting harmed in the fallout of all this.
Well, that's why Batman was v Superman in that movie, right? Because Bruce Wayne was watching from the ground. Not a great movie, but it was really like trying to like double down to that sort of like, oh, the superhero has caused a disaster. People are pissed.
Well, and there's going to be fallout always. So I do like that they point that out, but it was kind of lame the way that it's just done through voiceover. Like here's a clip from a previous show, and then now here's some new narration. And there was I wouldn't say subtitles, like straight up title screens, almost like in like an old, pre-talkie movie of here's some text. And man, the Japanese people just read really fast because I don't know if it was my copy, but there was a lot to read and they were like whipping by. I had to keep kind of like reversing it and then reading it again. And I'm just talking about the English. I wasn't even reading the Japanese.
Well, a few interesting things. So, yeah, the first half of this is a clip show, and the second half is not, which is also a little weird. But one, they actually reanimated some of the clips. Like they took elements out, changed the color timing. They actually changed some of it.
I didn't go back and rewatch, but some of them I was getting like Mandela effect.
Okay, that was correct, and I think that was meant to be like intentionally off-putting if you've been watching the show, right? Like, so they do that. There's also no music in the clip section, which makes it seem weirdly dry. But that's an intentional choice that it's supposed to be weirdly dry in that case. So a couple other things in the production, Hideaki Anno at this point was kind of realizing he'd been mostly ignoring Rei a lot. And this episode wasn't quite coalescing. So that the poem is a late addition, I guess. Rei's weird poem while doing the test, which is, in my notes are bad teenage poetry, which now I feel a little bad about because Anno is, this is the episode he actually, this is his baby. Like the creator of his show is like full on for this episode. Like he's the writer, everything. And he put that in and tried writing the poem or whatever himself and it wasn't coming out. So he went into mental health books apparently and just started quoting things from that. His intention was to actually make Rei sound schizophrenic.
I mean, message delivered. He does a great job. There's actually even a specific scene where there's a whole bunch of different rays spread out, almost like, well, not like quite like a kaleidoscope, but just like a long streak of them, like a 4-dimensional ray. And I immediately was thinking these are either multiple personalities or multiple rays, and she's a clone, which seems like they're leaning into that. It seems like they're going to turn into Rei as a clone. And that maybe Rei's even a female version of Shinji because they keep emphasizing how they synchronize, which shouldn't be possible. And then they use Ashka, the new pilot, as an example of like she's an outsider. She wouldn't be able to just automatically use the same Ava as both Shinji and Rei could. And the fact that they can both do that makes it seem like they're this same person or related or something else is going on.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's you need Asuka there as like kind of a control, basically, right? Because if you're doing science, you have to have the control. So that's kind of like what, and also you get another Ava out of the deal. So that's also beneficial. So and that does explain why what is Crazy Daddy's name? Gendo, excuse me. Gendo is the big shopping street. That's why I was like, I know it's not Gendo. Gendo, like he has like a scientist's interest in these kids. He does not have a father's interest in Shinji, right?
Are any of these names normal?
Shinji's pretty normal. Rei's pretty normal. Asuka's pretty normal, but not for a German girl. Gendo is kind of weird. I feel like I don't run across too many Gendos.
Okay.
So Daddy Scientist does have a slightly weird sounding name in Japanese. The others, I mean, that's a thing in anime. Like you actually want all the characters have like super kind of normal sounding names, like for Japanese people. So as far as the Ava pilot, well, the Japanese Ava pilots, their names sound pretty normal. And of course, Asuka has a middle name. Japanese people don't have a middle name, which is her Langley. So
I wonder if she just took that name on to adapt a little bit better.
That's kind of what I think, because it's definitely, I mean, well, it's like in Japan, I will usually be addressed to as Mato, because that's the actual Japanese sounds. And if someone says Mato, I'll just be like, yes, it does. That's why I'm used to hearing that. If you use Matthew, it comes out as Mashu, which means very smelly. So I do prefer the Mato.
So Matthew is better than Mashu, and you're never getting Matthew or Matt.
Oh no, they like one of the things I have trouble teaching students is TH sounds, because in Japanese it's actually rude to stick your tongue out. So and we stick our tongue out a little to make that sound. So that's the sound that Like I sometimes I'll see girls like are you like I'm trying to do something dirty. I'm like, no, that's just that's how you make the English sound.
This sounds like that would have been the most fun class ever. Like I get to do this, and this is part of class.
No, but 13-year-old girls embarrassed by the fact they have to do that. Just like Asuka. Well, Rey won't be because Rey does not have any self-preservation, as they say in this episode. But Asuka would care, right?
I mean, I guess we're going to find out because we also see them going to school pretty frequently. Oh, this one, the whole entire episode, it really was a recap of not just how they're making through it, but they made emphasis on the first time that we saw something happen. So like the Angel 3 was the first time NERV, I didn't know this part, the first time NERV actually sent an Ava to fight an Angel was Shinji's very first battle overall. And like NERV had never done that before because the previous 2 Angels, they were able to take down using just normal military weaponry. So from the 3rd one on, and then they mention on the 4th one is when they obtain a sample of one of the Angels that they can kind of run some tests on. The 5th one is where Rey tries to sacrifice herself, and this is where the retconning kicked in because it felt like this wasn't established as directly, as explicitly in the episode itself. So now they're kind of being like, hey, remember this episode? Okay, here's what really happened. Even though it's phrased as like a question, obviously they're implying this very heavily now that Rey intentionally sacrificed herself for some greater reason that we're going to find out later.
And something they didn't retcon, and you are correct, they are like kind of like they're weaving their own story at this point. That's one of the meta things about this I like they're talking about, oh, the story is starting to change in terms of like us predicting the future, and the show is also changing a little bit. But I will call out they put back in the shot where Rey's on the street and then she's not on the street, which is in the first episode. So at least that's baked in from actual episode 1. And maybe they didn't even know why they did it in episode 1, and they're starting to try and work that out now, you know?
There was another one, the 6th Angel, the one right after Rey sacrifices herself. The 6th Angel was Gagiel, and I was looking up, this was the roaring beast of God, and they're known as the Angel of Fish. And this was the first, they emphasized the first underwater battle. So it kind of made sense that the Angel of Fish is going to be this underwater battle. Again, it seems to lend credit that they're not just randomly picking angels out of the Bible and out of all these different texts, or even if they are, they're at least making sure that the themes line up.
And yeah, the other thing with the first part of this episode is it's what SEELE is the secret organization that is basically giving Gendo a performance review. Is that how I should go about this? Also, I will note that after the mid-episode break, I'm like, this looks exactly like the Illuminati scenes out of Metalocalypse. Like to the point where I'm like, were they just copying this for Metalocalypse? Which I mean, that's fine. You can do that.
I love all of the different floating, all-seeing eyes in the sky that they keep fighting, and then there's like the space one that we see them fighting. Like all of this is very welcomed, different symbolism, and I think that part of this too is them indicating they're kind of fighting God. I think that if it's not already obvious enough that they're fighting angels, but all this imagery of humans trying to fight this eye in the sky, and there's also a part towards the end of this episode where maybe it's part of the teenager poetry, where they're talking about, did humans come from God? And then there's this suggestion like, no, humans didn't come from God. Humans came from humans. And just the same way that Avas came from humans, and God didn't make that either. So that maybe the humans in this series are literally fighting God at this point.
I mean, one movie, Prometheus, I think when it came out, like that's the best looking sci-fi ever, I think. So like it had that going, but a lot of people were not in Prometheus when it came out. And I feel like that movie has slowly become more popular because that movie posits like your God was a pasty, angry, large, bald thing, right? Which doesn't sit well with people when they're told that. So,
hey, you're describing me a little bit.
They didn't have any facial hair though, or cool glasses.
Okay, that's the only difference. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I don't think you're 9 feet tall, so I'm guessing.
I agree with you. By the way, I think Prometheus is one of the best, but you also have to see the director's cut version of the intro of Prometheus, and not the theatrical, and not the one that actually made it to the cut DVD version. Or if you watch it on streaming, it doesn't have the original beginning, so you can just go and find it online, watch the original variant intro to Prometheus now, and it explicitly talks about exactly what's happening, is that these quote unquote angels are just dropping this DNA super starter into the ocean, and then that's what causes, like, the rest of evolution is true, like the whole evolutionary theory is true, but it just started from an angel dumping some chemicals into the water.
And if you do continue to Alien Covenant, I do recommend looking up the deleted scenes for that as well, because that's a case where he should have just put out the 2.5-hour movie for once. One of the few cases where cutting down the movie probably was not a good idea.
But in that movie, they're not fighting God; they're fighting their own abomination, trying to recreate what God created, right?
Oh, I'm just talking. Yeah, that's true. I'm just talking about, like, in terms of, like, you know, having all the information to make it a okay movie. Alien Covenant at best is okay, but yeah, Prometheus, yeah. And then we are getting into that stuff here in the Ava stuff too. This is the first we've heard about the Dead Sea Scrolls, and at the end we have Rey retrieving the what spear is it? Did you happen to write that down? Because I forgot to.
I didn't write down the name of the spear.
Okay, I got here we go. Spear of Longinus. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but that's the guy
It's the Spear of Destiny, and his also name is the Lance of Longinus. And Longinus was the guy that pierced the rib cage of, the side of Jesus while he's on the cross. And I always wondered, like, well, why does that guy get to become a saint? You know what I mean? Like,
that's kind of mean.
That kind of seems like a mess. Well, what happened is that the blood he couldn't see well. He had some issue with his vision. The blood got into his eyes, and then he was cured of his sight, and then, like, kind of corrected course. I mean, I have to oversimplify it for the sake of this, but so the Spear of Destiny, or the Lance of Longinus, resulted in his sainthood, even though he kind of did a pretty dickish thing.
Yeah, and well, yeah, actually that's another layer, because I was just sitting here thinking, well, if they need the spear, that means they're not. That's not to attack an angel. That's not to attack God. That's to attack the Son of God.
The only reason that you would really want the Spear of Destiny is because it should have allegedly has the blood of Jesus Christ on it, so that you can then sample the DNA and then make, like, a clone out of it. There's actually a comic book series that turned into a show that's gone now called Preacher. And I think in, like, the second or the third season of the TV show, based on the comic, this is what the actual Illuminati have been trying to do. They've been trying to clone Jesus Christ based on this Holy Blood, Holy Grail, and Spear of Destiny angle. But they keep, like, overcooking it or kind of messing it up. They keep having these, like, weird abomination Jizai, I think is the plural. And anyways, it's a recurring theme in, like, these high elite circles.
I'm gonna remake the Island Dr. Moreau with all messed up Jesuses.
It's been done. It's called Holy Mountain.
Okay. No, I want the genetic weirdness. Holy Mountain is weirdos,
less
right?
lizards too, hopefully.
Yeah. So that's basically the second half of this, and then they have weirdly, Rey seems to sync well with Shinji's, and then Shinji makes Rey's go berserk and try to murder somebody, which on screen it looks like he's going after Rey, although that's usually where Gendo hangs out. And then Ritsuko is also saying, I think it was coming for me. So we do have a pissed off Ava, pretty hardcore going for somebody.
I think that was the end result, but originally they were syncing really well, and it was notable that Shinji and Rey, maybe not perfectly interchangeable, but way more so than Asuka. So again, there's something about Shinji and Rey that makes them unique unto each other, that I'm assuming that we're going to find out exactly what that means. And there was even something that maybe I didn't catch on the first watch through. So Clip Show helped out at least a little bit, but they were talking about this mental contamination where the thoughts of Rei start leaking in the Shinji's brain, and they just emphasize that even more, that's kind of like a really big deal. And we actually hear him say, this shouldn't even be possible. Like, this is another one of those things, just like the very first battle where Shinji was able to kind of override and defeat, the angel that he was fighting, even though the Eva had been taken out of commission. So like, there's something about Shinji in particular that makes him the Neo of this world a little bit. And I mean, is that just a coincidence, or it seems that statistically just grabbing a random kid off the street and they just happen to be Neo in the Matrix, he had to be a plant. Like, Shinji has got to be somehow carefully crafted into doing this role.
Well, yeah, Gendo certainly knows what's up. That's why he demanded his presence. Technically, it was requested his presence, but again, Japanese culture, Shinji's presence was pretty well demanded. So, yeah.
I mean, if your dad's literally running the show, so.
We did have the mental contamination when Shinji got into Eva with Asuka, too, as well, though, because the whole thing was like, you need to start thinking, or I have to switch the OS to Japanese because you're thinking in Japanese.
Right.
So that one did have a little bit of precedent. Here, it's, of course, it's a much more of a, plot point, something to think about. There was a weird inconvenience, but hey, you call that a good seeding, I guess.
He shouldn't be seeding anybody.
How much do you run across the Dead Sea Scrolls in your various explorations?
I mean, not as much right now, but there was definitely a moment in time when I was hyper fixated on the Bible code. And like, that was kind of the first introduction to real gematria. So I find it interesting, Dead Sea Scrolls, the Apocrypha in general, and it seems like they just keep finding cool stuff in these old locations where the Sea Scrolls came from. I think this is also one of the areas that the Gospel of Judas came out of, although Gospel of Judas was found after this show came out, but it's kind of on the same level of that. I think Gospel of Thomas might have been another one. So there's a few like great mixtapes. They kind of feel like these underground albums from the 90s or something that no one else really knew about, but were solid albums.
Yeah, you can play the Beatles, or you can break out the Nuggets box set, with all the
well, I don't know who that is, but I think we're talking about the same thing.
Oh, it's Nuggets too. That's Around the World. This is a 5 CD compilation of insane pop psychedelic, singles.
Have you ever heard of Black Murda?
No, I haven't. What's that?
Black Murda was another one of these groups that could have been something. Like, they had a great album. I think it was 70s, and it's kind of like a funk rock.
Okay, that's the sort of thing. I mean, before I started podcasting, back in blog times, I would write like reviews of psychedelic albums. So if anyone wants to check it out, go search out Dr. Schluss's Garage of Psychedelic Obscurities and go back at least 20 posts to find actual reviews.
Okay, what you just described sounds like a place you'd get shot at in Chicago.
The Garage of Psychedelic Obscurities, sure, why not? Yeah. I like that. Yeah, I get shot in Chicago there. I've been in Chicago once myself. In December, it's cold. Guy at the hotel is like, "You're here for business, aren't you?" And he's like, "Yeah." No one comes here in December for fun.
I went to Chicago once for a wedding, and the night before, we were all just downtown, just bar hopping, enjoying downtown. And I saw a guy in a suit smoke crack on the corner of a street, and then just kept walking like on his way. It was kind of wild.
I'm just thinking of I guess it's Anchorman 2 with well, now we know you can't smoke crack on live TV as they're getting arrested and slammed into the pavement. Let's see. Oh, I always mention I'm an avid Trekkie, and I do feel like when Shinji was in Rei's Eva, he did kind of like, it was kind of like a mind meld. It seemed kind of like a Star Trek style mind meld for a bit there.
Yeah, well, it was an overload, I think. It was a sensory overload in a way, and was getting saturated with these other thoughts. And also, it would be weird. Like, I wouldn't want Rei in my mind. If out of all the different Evas you could have infiltrate your mind, I feel like Rei would probably do the most damage. Shinji would be annoying, and Asuka would be annoyed. But Rei would kind of it feels like there's some danger there. Like that Project Monarch would rub off on you and not leave you the same.
Well, a shot that really apparently was highly conversed about, and we can converse about, is when we see the weird, deformed, super anime Rei face at one point.
And also there's like a Barbie body that we see, like a completely asexual Barbie body.
That's the same shot, and she looks up, and it's just like this like we see a relative, well, we're still like it's coming through weird mind control, but we see a smile a person can make in Rei 2, the 6th episode at the end. They're like Rei's smile. But in this one, it's just this contorted, weird, super kawaii anime face smiling, which is kind of extra disturbing.
I figured part of it was like a camera lens effect. Like they were showing almost like an extreme fisheye.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm seeing if I can just the discussions. Oh, you know what? I'm not going to continue that conversation because I think I just spoiled myself slightly. Oops. Let's not do that for everyone else.
Okay. Okay. Don't spoil for me.
So anyway, that shot, the discussion of the shot I just brought up will lead you to future plot elements. So I was good for calling it out, but I just spoiled myself. Oops. I don't care that much about spoilers.
Well, you've soiled yourself towards the end of the episode.
Right. But I didn't spoil you, dear listener, unless you've done this show several times. Is there anything else you want to throw out on this one? I mean, I guess since half of it's a clip show, it was just cool to see all the angels back to back, you know?
So there was one in particular scene after the clip show's over, and it's sort of the Illuminati order of NERV or some other. I didn't really put together exactly who they were. I assume NERV, but they might be a level above NERV as well.
It seems a level above. It's called SEELE.
Okay, that was the SEELE group. Okay, that they all had these different colors. There was a white at the top and a white at the bottom, and then we had this quadrant of 4 different colors for these other 4 different roles. And I just thought that was incredibly meaningful. And on the zoom out, it almost looked like one of those Rosicrucian crosses, although the colors don't match exactly. But whenever I see that, it does seem that each color is reflecting a completely different archetype for each of these different characters. So maybe they're just throwaways, but regardless, the symbolism is the same.
Well, we just did Magi last episode where we have the 3 computers with different brains. So, you know, that.
So now we've got these 4 intellects, and then the white at the top and the white at the bottom, and white would just be all color, right? So it almost appears that the 2 whites would be the superior to the rest of the colors in the middle. I didn't mean for it to sound like that, but that's how it came out.
That was Metalocalypse set up that way. Now I'm sitting there wondering if they took that element too. Well, we'll get to that one eventually, at least a few episodes. But because I just definitely, you know, the Cabal talking at the beginning of every episode. I was like,
there's been a couple requests there's been requests for Metalocalypse, so we'll have to do a few of those.
And I sometimes just watch that show while going to sleep, you know. So, although I will say, I want the 10-minute episodes. The 20-minute episodes get a little draggy. They did one season where they doubled the length of the episodes, and it was not a good. Just like the Twilight Zone, not a good idea.
I mean, I grew up on Nicktoons, so the 11-minute format is kind of my favorite format. This is like Rugrats and Doug and Ario Monsters and all of these where you would put it on for the half hour. You'd get one full uninterrupted show, commercial break, and then another uninterrupted storyline, and then the credits. And it was just the perfect formula because the writers didn't have to write in for commercials. They were able to just make these standalone little like vignette storylines.
Yeah, that's the way it makes things. So this one, I guess Ava works pretty well. It's basically in 2 clumps, you know, and they have a second title card for you, which did throw me off because I realized if I want to skip past the credits, sometimes my player just goes to that middle point, like it's coded into the file or something. So I only made that mistake once, but I have seen it happen a few more times. So
yeah, and this one too, Ava, is the opposite of that format where you're just getting these little vignettes. This Ava absolutely feels like a linear movie that just happens to be around 26 or 13 hours long, right? Like Ava's like a 12 and a half hour movie.
I mean, that's how a lot of anime rocks, I think, in the end. Probably because a lot of it is based off of manga. I mentioned before, my daughter's never watched this show, but she did read the manga. So
it's unique because if you look through Western cartoons, 80s and 90s, you don't find that. You don't really find a 26 episodic series that's actually linear, that refers and builds on stories. It just doesn't happen.
I mean, Dragon Ball Z, for an example, does that for like over 200 episodes. So, that's when we're not covering all of ever, And then they'll have like 5 episodes just build up to a battle. And now the battle is another 5 episodes. And that's like 3 hours of screen time,
You don't know. What if we do an episode of Dragon Ball Z and it's like by a factor of 100 more popular than anything else we've ever covered? We wouldn't do a Dragon Ball Z series.
We could certainly hit a few. I'm just like, going through all of them would be I'm sure someone has, and will be doing that. But could it be us? Probably not.
I don't think I've ever seen a full episode of Dragon Ball Z, and I realize how incredibly popular it is because there's even a very popular ramen place in downtown Orlando, like right in the middle of all the theme parks, called Super Saiyan. That is just got like Dragon Ball Z decked out, and it's like incredibly, people go there, don't even know what this is, but just the fact that it's so popular, someone decided to make an entire restaurant that's got great reviews all around it. It gives it more credit.
No, every kid knows if I need to bring up characters, I'll often give Goku as an example, and I'll often get corrected, Son Goku. I'm like, but just to throw out on Eva one more time, I've said it on the show before, but back in February, we did have Eva hamburgers at McDonald's. So you could, there was one burger for each pilot.
Now I feel like that would have sucked me in.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I wish maybe they'll do it again, because now I'd be like, I have to try all 3 burgers. We're back in February. We hadn't started this yet.
The Ray burger, you just go into a trance immediately.
Yeah, really. No, I saw the Eva burgers, like, that's interesting. That's cool. And then I bought like a double cheeseburger, So
yeah. I mean, without even knowing what the differences were, the only burger I'd even be willing to entertain would probably be an Asuka burger. I don't want a Shinji burger. I don't want to order it. Was a spicy one.
Shinji burger is just it was just a bun and a hamburger, no toppings, no ketchup, no mustard.
And it's cold. It's cold and it's soggy.
I think it probably had an egg on it, to be honest. Okay, I guess we're talking Ava burgers. We're probably finished today. How do you want to send the good people away today?
If you're listening to this on the podcast, go and follow Paranoid American on YouTube. We just today, as of recording, got to 10,000 subs. So now the next milestone is 100,000. So if we're going to get there, if you're listening to this and you're not subscribed, the next time you got a chance, visualize yourself sitting down at your boring work computer, and the first thing that you open is YouTube, and you go to Paranoid American and you hit subscribe. If you're watching this on...
They tell 10 of their friends.
Yeah, that's how it works. And then if you're watching this on YouTube or Rumble or something, go and subscribe to the Paranoid American podcast on Spotify or Apple or Spreaker or any of those different things. So feeding the algorithm is the only way to get to more normies. And while we're at it, hit the little buttons and the bells and the thumbs and the doodads. Do all the things, please.
Feeding the beast. And if you need to get into more media podcasts, I talk about movies, Twilight Zone, Severance. I was going to make a Severance reference for this. Well, what's that going to be? Oh, well, it doesn't matter. Anyway, podcastius.org. I talk about all sorts of media as well. I don't think we have 10,000 subs there, but what can you do?
You got to keep pushing. I heard that the first 1,000's the hardest, and then the first 10,000 is the second hardest, and then the next one is 100, and that everything up to 100 is easy. That's what Donut said, but Donut's also a freaking natural.
Learn about the full history of the Bavarian Illuminati. Adam Weishaupt, Alumbrados, Jesuits, Rosicrucians, Freemasons, and more. From the 18th century to modern day, we expose it all. That's right, it's the Illuminati comic from Donut and Paranoid American. Get yours now at illuminaticomic.com.
Paranoid. Yo. I scribble my life away, driven to write the page. Will it enlighten your brain? Give you the flight, my plane, paper the highs ablaze. Somewhat of an amazing feel when it's real to real. You will engage it. Your favorite, of course, the Lord of an arrangement. I gave you the proper results to hit the pavement. If they get emotional, hey, maybe your language, a game, how they playing it well without Lakers. Evade them, whatever the cost, they are the shapeshift. Snakes get decapitated, met is the apex. Execution of flame you out, nuclear bomb distributed at war, rather gruesome for eyes to see. Max them out, then I light my trees. Blow it off in the face, you're despising me for what though? Calculated and rather cutthroat. Paranoid American must be all the blunt smoke for real. Lord, give me a day away, vacate. They wait around to hate whatever they say. Man, it's not in the least bit. We get heavy rotate when a beat hits, so thank us, you're welcome. Fuck the niggas for real, you're welcome. They ain't never had a deal, you're welcome. Man, they lacking appeal, you're welcome. Yet they doing it still, you're welcome.